Testing. Okay, that sounds like it's on. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chell, and I'm your gathering companion this morning. I just want to welcome everyone to SSUC, whether you're here with us in person or in our sister community in Saskatoon, or wherever you may be, to those of us who are joining online. Welcome to this gathering of spiritual seekers united in community, where we want to focus on what it means to be our best selves, celebrating diversity, engaging life with spiritual depth, inspiring compassion and connection, and making a meaningful difference. And I'd also like to affirm, as we do when we gather, our inclusion and belonging, and our mission to build a safer place for all people, all sizes, all ages, all colors and cultures, all genders and sexualities, all abilities, all learning styles and neurotypes, all religions or none, all people, period. Thank you.
It's hard to light the community candle when it's missing. Here it is. Thank you, Blair. Oh. Beautiful. And so we light the community candle. As we do that, and we share both light and an acknowledgement of the land this morning, I want to share with you a tale that has been traced back at least 3,000 years in the First Nations people of Haida Gwaii and the West Coast. In a time when darkness covered the land, a boy named Weget is born, who is destined to bring the light. With the gift of raven skin that allows him to fly as well as transform, Weget turns into a bird and journeys from Haida Gwaii into the sky. There he finds the chief of the heavens, who keeps the light in a box. By transforming himself into a pine needle, clever Weget tricks the chief and escapes with the daylight back to earth. And so, the start of daylight and the sun's dawning. This story and others remind us of our ageless search for light, no matter who we are or where we come from. For understanding, for connection with our animal siblings, connection to our natural world. May this light and all of our lights remind us of our ongoing search and our delight when we find it. Would you join me in strengthening our intentions this morning to place our hearts, our minds, our beings into this place and to focus our attention and our intentions? We are here in this time and place with our desire to cultivate spiritual life. We come seeking ways to live fully and love deeply, to be inspired by knowledge and wisdom that can nudge us into a new consciousness. Let's pause in awe and wonder at the massive and the microscopic in the expanding universe. And as we do, commit to honoring the worth of every part of the web of life. Inspired to look within and beyond ourselves, we will harness the energy needed to live with love, with justice, and with compassion. Connected and one with all who walk in the light of the cosmos. May it be so. We are welcomed into our continuing series that we're calling Stardust, so that we might seek wisdom that the universe might have for us. And as part of that, this morning, as every morning, we welcome you to come to the carpet for our Time for All Ages. Young, older, oldest, carpet, chairs, stay where you are. You're all welcome. Did you want to run? I missed my chance. What's this? I'm going to show you. Okay, well, today I thought we could have some fun with magnets. Magnets come in all different kinds of shapes and sizes. I brought these ones with me.
Yeah.
They have, on each one, they have a red side and a blue side.
Because if this, let me tell you.
Yes, please.
Let me show you. If it's the same side,
Yes.
it will move away. But
Oh,
the
yes.
same will move away, but
Yep.
different won't. It'll connect.
You got it, Tyler.
It's actually really hard to connect. Wait.
Okay, now let me show as well, because I think everyone would like to see, because all they saw of that is your back. So there's always two sides to a magnet. Here they're called poles, but that doesn't matter. Here there's a red side and a blue side. And sometimes if you put the same poles of a magnet together, like the red and the red, I cannot get them to go together. They push away. Does anyone else want to try push it to get them together? Oh, it's tricky. You can do it. You can overcome it because it's not that strong of a magnet. If you push really hard, you can get it together. But it does. If you bring them together lightly, they do not want to go together. But if you do a red and a blue, click. Oh, dang. Well, the best laid plans. They need to be stronger magnets, don't they? They stick together like a magnet.
Yeah.
With some love. Okay, so I just wanted to. You're like, Chris, why do you want to talk about this? Well, I also love to think about how this little science experiment about all of the little iron thingies inside, how technical, hey? All the little iron thingies in here are aligned in one direction, and so they love to either attract to each other or repel each other. And I wonder what this tells us. I mean, it can tell us a lot of things. Science has used electromagnetic fields for a lot of things. You can try, of course. So we are also kind of like a magnet. I want us to use our imaginations. Sometimes we are attracted to each other and we get along really well with each other. We have good friends, we have family that have really loving kind of things going on. And then sometimes we're like the magnets of the same pole and we don't really get along. There are people in this world who don't get along. Can you believe it? You can. See, the older ones can. But I wonder if, like a magnet, we can find the right direction, the right way to be within ourselves so that we can get along and do good things with each other. Because when we are aligned and when we are all kind of doing wonderful things and working alongside each other, there are amazing things that can happen. So I thought that maybe, oh look, I had a picture of the inside of a magnet. Isn't that lovely? There's those things. The domains inside the iron, you know, those things. But right now, I want to make with you a homopolar motor. You're like, what? What? I brought some stronger magnets.
Yay.
These magnets are smaller, but they're really strong. They look like little coins or batteries. They're just this big. But look, they're very strong. It's really hard to pull them apart. So I stacked 7 of them together. And I brought this, a battery, because we need some energy. And we brought a battery, because just like our red and blue magnets, every magnet will create a field around it. A field, magnetic field, just like the Earth has, just like every, magnet has. I didn't say that. See, now look. These magnets are the same. This one's real strong. I cannot push these together. See that?
Yeah.
No, you're not going to try. But if I push real hard and let go, it just flips over, so that the correct side will be magnetized. So I brought strong magnets. I brought a piece of wire and I brought a battery. So. People are not going to really see this unless you're right here. But I'm going to put the batteries on the ground, and I'm going to put the magnets on the ground and put the battery on top of it. See? La, 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 la. This is the wonderful thing about a magnetic field, is we can convert energy into something really fun. I'm going to put this wire on top and touch it to the top. Oh, there, it's spinning. The wire is spinning. Now, it likes to fall off the top of the battery because I don't have it built perfectly well, but you can see when it's on the top of the battery, it spins around. We have created a little motor. See it spinning? Yeah. Lovely. It wouldn't work with just the battery. Doesn't work with just the battery. It needs the magnetic field. And then, and then we can create this spinny motor. Isn't that great? I will not let you touch that because it's hot. Because whenever you convert energy, you also create heat. Anyway, that's another lesson. The point is, what's the point, Chris? Tell me. When we are getting along and doing good things with each other, we can create amazing things that we didn't think could happen. We could spin if we wanted, yes. But we can do things in the world, things that matter, things that make a difference, if we find out how best to work with each other. Not against each other, but with each other. So I love that. I don't think that's why magnets exist, but we learned a lesson from magnets. So that's lovely. Perfect. Maybe you'll be attracted to Kid Spirit this morning. And Daisy and Ariane's magnetic personalities. Or you're, stop it. Don't encourage me. Or Youth Space is happening as well, and Wes will lead us in that as well. So thank you for coming. Thank you for playing magnets with me. See you again. Bye-bye. Youth Space people, Wes is staying here to talk to us a little bit. Wes, do you want the youth to wait for you? Oh, okay, but you're coming first. Yeah. Okay, this is our time for sharing a few invitations and things that are going on in the life of the community. And first up is Wes, because Wes has a youth update for us. Thank you, Wes.
Thank you so much, Chris. Good morning, everyone. Technology is so nice. Hello. I have a quarterly update for the youth program. Instead of doing like an annual thing where I have to give you 100 minutes worth of information, I'm thinking I'll do a quarterly one. So quarter ended March 31st, which just so happened to be our Transgender Day of Visibility rally. So I'm going to run through just quickly what we've done over the quarter in both of the youth programs, Youth Space and Evergreens. If you haven't met me before, because I know we have quite a packed house this morning, I'm Wes, I'm the youth coordinator. 2 programs, one is Sunday mornings, one is Monday evenings. I'll get into that briefly. Perfect. All right, so Youth Space, that is where we were all almost dismissed to this morning. Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. We generally come in here for the beginning, the time for all ages, and then we head down to the youth room. Some things that we've been doing so far this semester, we've been talking about the power of affirmation, just a couple highlights. On Groundhog Day, we talked about shadow or sunshine. So what that basically means is the power of perspective. Are we looking at a situation from both angles? Are we looking at the shadow? Are we looking at the sunshine? So what I did was I gave the youth a couple different situations. They talked about what was the shadow or the sunshine in each of those situations. I've noticed, even in my own life, that the power of perspective has been incredible in shaping how I view things. I'm sure a lot of us here have noticed the same in our own lives. Other highlights, big emotions. All right, so something that we did was we got a piece of paper and I asked the youth, could you tell me the names of emotions, but first I'd like to know the color that they are and the size they should be on the paper. And so we were able to come up with a bunch of emotions. If you've seen Inside Out, the Disney movie, big recommend, especially Inside Out 2. It's one of my favorites. But what we did was really, it brought to mind for a lot of us that movie. And the fact that each of the emotions has a different, for lack of a better word, personality, and a different, it adds a different element to our being. We also have been doing a coping tools and skills review. I don't know if you can see it, but it is down there in the corner. We didn't put any judgments on them at first. We sat down, we listed together a bunch of different coping tools, different coping skills. People cope. Then we assigned some judgments. We gave them red, green, or yellow lights / boxes around them to determine if they were an effective coping mechanism, if they were maybe not the best thing to do, or if they had a yellow light, situational. This was completely directed by the youth on which was which. And then, what's up next? Up next, we will be talking about managing difficult emotions and situations. So we're really going to be focusing on building our mental health toolkit. The focus of this whole semester is mental health and creating that resilience within our youth. We're also working on connection and community building. We've got a bunch of board games down in the youth room that we engage in together. Last week we had a couple great games of a game called Exploding Kittens. If you haven't played it, don't judge the name. All right, I do have some volunteer opportunities coming up. There will be more news on those soon, but if you are interested and eager, please do email me. Up next, here was the quote of the year. What if we just made the room rainbow? Because I asked the youth, I said, all right, this room looks like we are about to have a board meeting. And by board, I mean B-O-R-E-D. So one of the youth said, why don't we just make the room rainbow? The result? I will let you know that most of these photos are the process because we don't have final photos yet. But if you do have a chance after the service to pop downstairs, I will be down there to show you the youth room in all of its glory. We've got a rainbow stripe going down the wall. Shout out to my beautiful partner, Elise. She is a carpenter and made the line straight for us. It's not that I don't trust the youth, I don't trust me. So yeah, we've got a rainbow line going across. We've got blue and green couches. We've got 3 different colored that are not blue and green. I don't remember the colors of them, but they're beanbag chairs. They're like 3 feet by 3 feet. They're great. The youth like to pile them up and then jump on them. All right, other program, Evergreens Community GSA. As you can see from the poster, we run Monday nights from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. We do food, games, courageous conversations. This is a community GSA. So if you've heard this before, you're going to hear it again. The government is targeting trans people. The government is targeting young people, young trans people. You might have heard that schools have GSAs, which are gender sexuality alliances, formerly known as gay-straight alliances. But guess what? The government's going to come for them next, according to what I heard through the grapevine. So our aim is to create, / we have created, a community GSA. So this is a place for queer youth and allies to come, to hang out together, to play games. We always share a meal together, and courageous conversations. In February, we launched on February 3rd. We have a leadership team of 5 adult leaders who work together to run every Monday night. In February, some of our highlights, we did a session on chosen family where we sat down and everyone was asked, could you draw a picture of your chosen family, but do it as if your kindergarten teacher asked you to? And so we had all these cute little stick figures with arms coming out the heads, and it was great. It was awesome. So we had them displayed for 2 weeks downstairs, just like the whole youth group's chosen families, and it was really cool. Some of them had tons of pets on them. Some of them had a bunch of friends. Some of them had biological family. It was very, very, very special. We've had a guest speaker come in and speak on intersectional allyship, how the intersections of our identity, how we can be allies to other communities through the intersections of identity, whether that be sexuality, race, gender, etc. In March, we celebrated on March 17th. Everything was already green in the world because it was some kind of Shamrock Day. But we celebrated it and called it Evergreens Day. You can laugh now. Thank you. Thank you. Coming up in April, we have a queer history highlight coming up next week. We're going to be doing a game and conversation around the flag and how our identity is represented in that. Then we'll be doing a whole crew cook-off, which will be a great time for the leaders and youth to cook together. And then later this month, we're doing a clothing swap. Oh, I guess this slide could have been before that one. Okay, what is Evergreens? We build connection and community. We learn together. We have games, conversations, guest speakers. As I said, a couple different ways that we're doing community outreach and advertising. I have reached out to school GSAs, and thankfully EAs are back and admin are back, so they can get back to me now. So I've connected with them. We've connected with a couple rec centers, some libraries, some community organizations, both local and national celebrities. We have also, we have a booth now, a partnership with the Neuro Spicy Market. If you have not heard of the Neuro Spicy Market, it is a market for and by neurodivergent folks. It runs monthly out of the Edmonton Convention Center. So we, as Evergreens, have a booth there every month now, where we get to advertise to queer youth, their allies, neurodivergent youth, because there are intersections there in that community oftentimes. Other advertising, I thought this was really exciting. I'm not like a social media stats person, but I thought it was really cool that our poster advertising the rally reached nearly 18,000 people. So how was the rally? Thank you so much for asking. There's a couple handsome faces up there. One of them is the drawn face of Chris, and the other one, it's me. So there's our poster. The rally was incredible. We had approximately 77 people here. It was a really special evening. We had partnerships with Pride Corner, Pink Tank, Dragonfly was here. We had Janice Irwin and Brooks Arcan Paul. We had Trans Rights Yeg come and give us some words. We had a local celebrity, Emmett Michael, come, speak some words, sing some songs. We had Chris come and explain on Trans Day of Visibility, why are we in a church? And on that note, I had multiple friends. If you didn't know, I come from way back an evangelical background, and I had some friends who come from similar backgrounds who have since deconstructed and don't find themselves in churches very often. So a couple of them came to me, and after the rally on Monday night, they said, "Does your church have kids programs? What does a Sunday look like at your church? Does everyone actually love gay people? Wait, so you work here?" And my favorite one, my friend was walking to the car with her kids, and her daughter, who just a couple weeks ago was baptized in the Pentecostal church. They were walking across the parking lot, and she looked up at her mom and said, "Mom, isn't it so cool that we finally found a church that loves trans people? We can go there and love Wes." Melted me. It was a great rally. I have a special place in my heart for youth, obviously, but for the community that this place brings and the feeling of home that this place brings. So I want to thank each person here today for investing in the youth program with your hope, with your thoughts, prayers, whatever. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I got one more thing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. One more thing. If you would like to get involved, would like to know more, would like to follow us on social media, connect. I'm here. I'll be downstairs after the service. Just walk until you find the really rainbow room. Thank you, everyone.
Those are the kind of updates we love to hear because it's happening in many places around this community, but that's tangible lives being transformed and supported and welcomed. We love it. Those on the screen are all the regular things that we do each week. And so look at where you might fit into any one or more of those that are coming up this week, as in most weeks. I want to also invite you that it's the first Sunday of the month, so there will be live people helping you to have your fair trade olive oil products here in the foyer afterwards. So support Palestinian farmers directly with the purchase of those. They make great gifts, Easter gifts. And we'll gather here as a community on Wednesday at 2 p.m. along with the Robertson family to celebrate Jim's life. And so all are welcome to that. It will also be live streamed. If you can't make it in person, you're welcome to join us that way. As we transition from all of that work of the community that is all about who we are and what we do, let us hear from the choir, which I think tells the same story, but in a different way. One of the pieces of wisdom this morning comes from a TED Ed video. Big surprise, right, in this series. This is one written by James Gillies, and it's entitled The Matter We Can't See. Here we go.
The ancient Greeks had a great idea. The universe is simple. In their minds, all you needed to make it were 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water. As theories go, it's a beautiful one. It has simplicity and elegance. It says that by combining the 4 basic elements in different ways, you can produce all the wonderful diversity of the universe. Earth and fire, for example, give you things that are dry. Air and water, things that are wet. But as theories go, it had a problem. It didn't predict anything that could be measured. And measurement is the basis of experimental science. Worse still, the theory was wrong. But the Greeks were great scientists of the mind, and in the 5th century BC, Leucippus of Miletus came up with one of the most enduring scientific ideas ever. Everything we see is made up of tiny, indivisible bits of stuff called atoms. This theory is simple and elegant, and it has the advantage over the earth, air, fire and water theory of being right. Centuries of scientific thought and experimentation have established that the real elements, things like hydrogen, carbon and iron, can be broken down into atoms. In Leucippus's theory, the atom is the smallest indivisible bit of stuff that's still recognizable as hydrogen, carbon or iron. The only thing wrong with Leucippus's idea is that atoms are, in fact, divisible. Furthermore, his atoms idea turns out to explain just a small part of what the universe is made of. What appears to be the ordinary stuff of the universe is in fact quite rare. Leucippus's atoms, and the things they're made of, actually make up only about 5% of what we know to be there. Physicists know the rest of the universe, 95% of it, as the dark universe, made of dark matter and dark energy. How do we know this? Well, we know because we look at things, and we see them. That might seem rather simplistic, but it's actually quite profound. All the stuff that's made of atoms is visible. Light bounces off it, and we can see it. When we look out into space, we see stars and galaxies. Some of them, like the one we live in, with beautiful spiral shapes spinning gracefully through space. When scientists first measured the motion of groups of galaxies in the 1930s, and weighed the amount of matter they contained, they were in for a surprise. They found that there's not enough visible stuff in those groups to hold them together. Later measurements of individual galaxies confirmed this puzzling result. There's simply not enough visible stuff in galaxies to provide enough gravity to hold them together. From what we can see, they ought to fly apart, but they don't. So there must be stuff there that we can't see. We call that stuff dark matter. The best evidence for dark matter today comes from measurements of something called the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang. But that's another story. All of the evidence we have says that dark matter is there and accounts for much of the stuff in those beautiful spiral galaxies that fill the heavens. So where does that leave us? We've long known that the heavens do not revolve around us, and that we're residents of a fairly ordinary planet orbiting a fairly ordinary star in a spiral arm of a fairly ordinary galaxy. The discovery of dark matter took us one step further away from the centre of things. It told us that the stuff we're made of is only a small fraction of what makes up the universe. But there was more to come. Early this century, scientists studying the outer reaches of the universe confirmed that not only is everything moving apart from everything else, as you'd expect in a universe that began in a hot, dense Big Bang, but that the universe's expansion also seems to be accelerating. What's that about? Either there's some kind of energy pushing this acceleration, just like you provide energy to accelerate a car, or gravity does not behave exactly as we think. Most scientists think it's the former, that there's some kind of energy driving the acceleration, and they've called it dark energy. Today's best measurements allow us to work out just how much of the universe is dark. It looks as if dark energy makes up about 68% of the universe, and dark matter about 27%, leaving just 5% for us, and everything else we can actually see. So what's the dark stuff made of? We don't know, but there's one theory called supersymmetry that could explain some of it. Supersymmetry, or SUSY for short, predicts a whole range of new particles, some of which could make up the dark matter. If we found evidence for SUSY, we could go from understanding 5% of our universe, the things we can actually see, to around a third. Not bad for a day's work. Dark energy will probably be harder to understand, but there are some speculative theories out there that might point the way. Among them are theories that go back to that first great idea of the ancient Greeks. The idea that we began with several minutes ago. The idea that the universe must be simple. These theories predict that there is just a single element from which all the universe's wonderful diversity stems. A vibrating string. The idea is that all the particles we know today are just different harmonics on the string. Unfortunately, string theories today are as yet untestable. But with so much of the universe waiting to be explored, the stakes are high. Does all this make you feel small? It shouldn't. You're living at the right time to see our understanding explode.
It felt like after that we needed to sing a song, so we'll sing a song. a rabbit hole this week, you can probably tell. There's something missing in our universe. Well, there's a whole lot of somethings missing in our universe that we don't understand. There's something out there, like we just learned, taking up space that we can only hypothesize about at this point. And scientists call it dark matter, dark energy, that mysterious force and stuff acting on the universe. And I just wanted to read you one more little thing from Ian Sample's book called Massive, which is a history of the Higgs story. Many of you might have heard a number of years ago big news about the Higgs boson particle. This is his book that kind of illustrates the history of that discovery. You could be forgiven thinking that the Standard Model wraps up all there is to say about mass. If all stable matter we know of is made up of particles and forces, these smaller than atom bits, quarks and electrons, gravity and electromagnetism, bosons and photons, then surely these particles embody the smallest units of mass possible. If that were so, you could work out how much mass any object had just by totaling up the contributions of all those zillions of parts. But scientists can't do it. We knew, thanks to Einstein, that mass and energy are interchangeable. Mass can be considered a measure of how much energy an object contains, because of E equals mc squared. We can explain why the proton's mass is greater than the 3 quarks that it is made up of. These 3 quarks, though, only account for a small amount of its mass. The bulk of a proton's mass comes from the forces that bind them together. It leads us to a remarkable truth. Any object you care to mention, from your dog to your cell phone to the chair that's holding you up, owes 99% of its mass to the intense energy that it takes to keep it in one piece. Well, that blows me away. Maybe it blows away scientists too, I don't know, but it blows me away. Everything that we can see and measure and quantify is 5% of the universe. Everything else is who knows what. And even of the things we can measure, as Ian Samples tells us here, 99% of it is not the stuff. It's the energy holding the stuff together. To me, that brings about a certain amount of awe. Our world, we ourselves, are only possible because of the incredible amount of energy it takes to hold all of our stuff together. Now, I don't know if you'd agree with me, but life, too, for us, seems that way. It takes a whole lot of energy to hold all our stuff together. I was going to use a different word there. Life too often feels that way, and that's incredible wisdom. The sense of mystery and wonder is central to religious and spiritual experience. For millennia of human history, it's been the role of spiritual leaders to say, there's a world beyond the world of our ordinary experience. Look below the surface. Look deeper. There's something fundamentally illusory about the world of our senses. Test them. Learn to trust them. Check them out with others. This has been the spiritual experience. And it's exciting now that we live in a time when it's also the role of scientists to tell us that. The way we experience energy and mass, the very stuff of our senses, the touch, the weight, the sight, the smell, the sound, the entire world we inhabit, is not all there is. In fact, it's but a sliver of what is actually going on. How exciting to live in a time when we can quantify what others in the world, mainly in the East, have known intuitively for millennia, that it's energy and the forces that act upon all the stuff that is where it's at. It doesn't take much to bring me back to Star Wars, but I was a child of the 70s and 80s, and so Star Wars was a fairly formative piece of pop culture in my life. I don't need to elaborate on my Star Wars lunch kit, my Empire Strikes Back sheets on my bed, my R2-D2 garbage can, etc., etc. And I can remember friends and I running around the playground or around my backyard yelling some foolish things, and then, something about "May the Force be with you." It is okay. So who knows if George Lucas, when writing those lines, was aware of the force-carrying bosons that give new and deeper meaning to his catchphrase, "May the Force be with you. We are all force and energy." Years ago, when Ainsley was studying acupuncture, training in the Eastern forms of healing that manipulate the flow of energy, qi, through the body, I was fascinated to hear her talk about the long history of tracking the flow of energy in the body, working with it to bring about healing and health. This tradition of Eastern medicine is in tune with something that we in the West have almost entirely ignored, not completely, but mostly, for centuries. In most of what comprises our if, most of what we are, most of our mass is energy between our particles, then why would we ignore it? Why would we ignore 95% of us that is the energy holding us together? Why would we ignore it? Our energy may be a huge part of us that we can't see, but I can attest, when those needles go in just the right spot, you know there's forces at work in you. The astronomical wisdom we share today reminds me that science is humility. Spirituality is humility. We don't know what we don't know. We see our world as we see it and test it at any one time, and that is always changing. We're learning. We might discover tomorrow a force or a particle that better explains our universe. We too might make a self-discovery that puts our own lives into better focus. So much of the universe is unknown. So much of us remains unknown. And open and ready and waiting for discovery. A quick foray into our own tradition's writings. I want to connect this sense that we've just been talking about, of there always being more to discover, that both our understanding of our universe and ourselves is always changing, with a thread that runs through the Jesus tradition. It starts out as a little phrase that gets placed in the mouth of Jesus and has turned into, thanks to hundreds of years of questionable theology, into an oral tradition that was wanting to make meaning of a teacher's life and how he died, and the desire for those who want to follow in that way of radical love, of disruptive justice, to do the same. You're wondering, what is this phrase? Here it is. It's from Matthew 18:24, in other places too. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. Want to focus on the first part of that. What does it mean to deny yourself? Well, classical theologians have defined it like this: as putting aside one's own selfish desires, ambitions, preferences, a willingness to forego personal comfort for the sake of the hardships and challenges in living this kind of disciple life, including the ultimate end, which is suffering rejection, death. Dum bum bum. I make light because I don't want us to think that that is a holistic view of what it would mean to be a spiritual person. That is not a holistic approach, that interpretation. To forego the gifts of yourself, to put yourself at the bottom of the priority list and accept that living a spiritual life, a life of value, a life of love, a life of justice, means giving up who you are and taking on a life of hardship, leading to what? Your ultimate suffering and death? No, thank you. This isn't a helpful way to look at our spiritual endeavor. There's no doubt, caveat, that living an ethical and a countercultural and a radical justice life will put us in challenging circumstances. No doubt. Empires, powers that be, those in the status quo, they don't want to hear about radical love and justice. So there's no doubt we will be put in challenging situations if we choose to live that way. However, the benefit of 21st century eyes is that we can say it might be more productive to do this from a positive position rather than a negative one. To do this from a place of empowerment rather than a place of guilt and fear. To use the strengths of ourself in service to others and the world. Now, here is where it helps us to have an expansive and broad view of life and traditions, because we can use other traditions to inform us about our own. I'll compare this briefly to the Buddhist idea of anatta, which has traditionally been translated as no self. In some ways, the surface meaning is similar to the Jesus phrase of denying self. But it's informative to see how recent teachings in Buddhism that speak of anatta as the idea that can help us, as being interpreted and translated as no consistent self. The belief that we are the same one moment to the next or from one year to the next is a delusion. That we are ourselves from birth to death, that's an illusion. We form ourselves over time. Anatta doesn't mean that there's no you. It just means that you are constantly changing, constantly evolving, shape-shifting, as you will. There's tremendous liberation, isn't there, in not identifying ourselves with a set idea of who we are? I mean, think about this. Thoughts and behaviors that defined us at one time need not be defining of us now. That's liberation. Events and actions that I took in my past need not define who I am in my future. That's liberation. We grow and we change. And science concurs, I must add. Evan Thompson of the University of British Columbia, since the late 80s, has been studying and verifying the ideas of neuroplasticity. If you train your mind, you can change your brain. Brain science helps us have hope that we can overcome patterns. Patterns of trauma, patterns of habits, of mind and body. Because if we aren't stuck with the self-limiting beliefs inherent with the consistent self, we may orient ourselves toward becoming more of who we want to be. So in the spiritual world of our tradition, then, deny yourself and follow takes on a more expansive and embracing meaning then. We wish to live in ways that create the world as it could be. That's why we're all here. We see hope and a better tomorrow. So in doing that, we might deny that we are fixed, deny that we are just one story. We might embrace that we are ever evolving and changing, full of potential and possibility. And it's in that we ready ourselves, knowing that we are always ready for transformation. Ourselves and the world. So let's not deny ourselves. Let's not put ourselves last. Let's not say we don't matter. We actually matter a great deal because we are the source of the transformation that we're going to see in the world. Back to this universe. Boy, if there's one thing I take from that video or from anything that I've been reading, it's that it takes energy to live this life. It takes energy to hold all of our bits together, and it literally takes energy to live. Most of us want to do the best we can today and with our lives that we have. We don't do it by denying who we are. We do it by embracing that we're all living, moving, energetic, and evolving people. Empowered to make choices needed to be better today than we were yesterday, to expand our consciousness. So we may not care about the mass of matter. If you do, I have a few book recommendations. But we may not care about the mass of matter, but we are here to live lives that matter. Pun intended. That is a life of beautiful energy, full of forces, full of chi, full of life, full of potential. So may we continue to alter our perceptions and live in that life that matters. And may it be so for us in so many ways.
As we leave this place, we take the power and the wisdom of shared community with us. As we change this light, we know that we ourselves have also been changed. May the light that shines in each of us and in this community collectively give us the strength and the courage that we need to bring that light to the rest of the world.